Hello, this is Mike Lodge. I am the business advisor, and I am back with you this morning after a 2-day vacation. No, not even a vacation. I was working and I didn't have time to do a podcast for 2 days. So I apologize for that. But I am back and I'm going to do my podcast this morning. If you were to look outside right in front of me, you would see a beautiful sunny blue sky morning at 39 degrees. So it's a very, very cold morning. I wish I could say it was warm, but it's a cold. It's winter time now. So we have to accept winter when it comes and we say, hello, winter. What do you have to throw at me? Go ahead, try. I have talked to you a lot about going back to the office to work and how I feel that it's very important. It's vital because it's where you can get your mentor to work with you. It's where people can watch each other work. It's where we can literally stay in line with trying to know our jobs better, to do our jobs better, and to listen to what is going on in the industry. And you've got that feeling of teammanship, and it is a good situation to be. However, there's one issue that is starting to come up that is, well, it's affecting the finances of individuals. I believe in going back to work, and I think everybody should. But lunches are becoming very expensive. And it is costing people about $74 a week just in lunches. That's a lot of money to take out of your family budget that you're already trying to skimp by in and trying to survive in. I was surprised. McDonald's in California, they have raised, well, the state of California has raised the minimum wage for employees in fast food restaurants to $20 an hour. Well, that's going to raise the price of a Big Mac or just a plain old lunch. I was surprised. 2 weeks ago, I decided I was going to stop by McDonald's and get lunch and take it home. So I did. When they rang up everything that I wanted, which was just really was a simplified meal, just a Big Mac meal and Diet Coke, and that was all that I wanted. $18. I looked at the board and said, $18, my gosh, what has happened to McDonald's? It's now unaffordable for anyone to even eat there. And that's not just the only thing or the only restaurant chain out there that's having an increase in buying a lunch. I ordered, and I was stupid to do this. Okay, I will admit right to your face, I was stupid to do this, but I was hungry. I was working late at night, so I ordered a sub sandwich through Uber Eats. $34. I was shocked. So if people are having to face this kind of food costing issues, we have a problem. It never used to be this way, but with wages going up, the cost of food going up, so labor, food, rent, electricity, the cost of energy to supply electricity and gas charges, natural gas charges to heat the burners and everything has gone up. The cost of just surviving for businesses have gone up. Now in California, it's going to become worse because next month that $20 hourly rate is going to hit that cost of that Big Mac. I tell you, it's going to be very expensive. So what do we have to do? Well, we have to change our habits. And the change of habit means that you have got to learn how to make good sandwiches. You have got to understand that, okay, it's my responsibility to take care of my own lunch. I can no longer afford $18 or $14 for lunch anymore, or $74 a week. I can't do it anymore. I am going to have to take responsibility and make my own lunches, just like you did at home. Now, if you were going out to lunch while you were at home, when you had a perfectly stocked refrigerator, then I'm sorry, I don't feel sorry for you if you don't have cash flow to support a lot of your bills. But you know how to make a good sandwich now. You've had the pandemic, you've had all this working at home time. You know how to make a good sandwich. You know how to open up a can of soup and eat it and warm it up in the microwave. You know how to do it. So you're going to have to think just a little bit more. Okay, I am in an economic situation. I can no longer afford these lunches. So I am going to make my own. I'm sorry. That's the only option that you have at the moment. Mommy's not going to do it for you. Daddy's not going to do it for you. You are an adult and you have to do it yourself. Can you believe that? Can you believe that you have grown to the point now that you have to make your own lunch? Who could have thought? It's a tough life out there, but you've got to do it. For some reason, I've got all this light that's shining in on me from the outside, through the cracks of my blinds. Sorry about that. But listen, $18 for lunch, that's really stupid. I'm not doing it anymore. Can't do it anymore. It's just too darn expensive. Now, the other thing that I got pissed off at this morning, remember when we went through the pandemic and we were having to rely on China for the rubber gloves that you were supposed to wear? Well, the medical profession is supposed to wear, the police departments wear, everybody wears these gloves, these medical gloves. And remember how we had to rely on China, and China had to ship them over, and we were short on gloves. So what did the government do? The government spent some money, and they said, okay, let's open up some plants. Now, how good do you think that has worked out? I'm going to tell you what it is, okay? It hasn't worked out. All of these plants that they said they were building to make these gloves, still not up and running. That's how every time government gets involved in some type of private enterprise, we have a problem. And it's a big problem. Let me read this to you. More medical gloves are coming from China as U.S. makers of protective gear struggle. They're struggling. Let's read a little bit into the story. A 85-foot tall, dark gray building stands in Southern Virginia, surrounded by grassy fields and rolling blue mountains. This brand new chemical plant was set up during the pandemic to produce a special type of synthetic rubber that's needed to make medical exam gloves, the kind used every day by doctors and nurses. But so far, the factory has produced nada, zero, nothing. About 340 miles northeast in Maryland, another brand new factory sits idle and unfinished. This one was designed to take that kind of synthetic rubber and transform it into medical gloves. It's a 735,000 square foot building full of equipment, but the machines inside of it have not been fully set up. Zero gloves have been made. Further north, a glove factory in New Hampshire acquired 4 high-speed production lines so it could start churning out medical gloves quickly. But those lines have not been completely assembled. Together, these glove manufacturing projects got about $290 million in public funding, part of a roughly $1.5 billion investment made by the federal government since the start of the pandemic to boost American production of medical masks, gowns, and gloves, plus the raw materials needed to make them. The goal was to reduce the reliance of imports from Asia and to help prevent dangerous shortages of these essentials from happening again during the health crisis. But a group of manufacturers say that the effort has stalled and that some American companies trying to make personal protection equipment, also known as PPEs, are facing financial circumstances that threatens them with ruin. The commitment the U.S. government made just 3 years ago appears to have been abandoned, executives recently wrote to lawmakers in Congress. So this is what happens. And I'll be very frank and honest with you. When the government funds something, they never see what happens with that funding once they've done it. So now they've put these millions of dollars into these medical PPEs or gowns and gloves and everything, and nothing's being produced. It just sat there idle. The government didn't say, okay, you've got to do this by this date, this by that, that you got to be up and running. No, they didn't do anything. They just threw the money at the problem and then ran, saying, oh, look what we did. The government did this. But in actuality, they did nothing. They actually did nothing. So here we have all of these idle manufacturing plants ready to produce all of this medical PPE stuff, and it can't get done because the government just washed their hands of it, ran in another direction, decided to do climate change and all this other nonsense, and they never focused on what was needed by the American people. So here we are, to this day, still buying gloves from China, still buying gowns from China, still buying all this PPE stuff from China. And we talk about, oh, we gotta get away from buying so much stuff from China. But so the government says, okay, let's build some factories so that we can do this, and let's throw money at it. But then that's as far as they went. Every time the government gets involved in some type of entity like this, it falls apart. Just like the money going to Ukraine, we have no idea how that's being spent. They just threw it at it with no goals, no objectives, nothing. Now, the president wants to throw money at the border. For what? We have no idea. That's why I think it's really good that the Congress is saying, okay, we are going to do a funding bill for Israel, we're going to do a funding bill for the border, and we're going to do a funding bill for Ukraine, because we have questions that need answered of how this money is going to be spent. What has happened to the money that we have already sent? And what are the goals and objectives for the border? And what are the goals and objective for Ukraine? Those are the questions that need to be asked by standalone bills, where the questions can be asked. You just cannot lump it together. So when Senator Schumer says, no, we're going to do it all together, and the president says, no, I am not going to sign anything unless it's done all together. Listen, that is a way of avoiding having to ask the tough questions on how our money is being spent. So we still have no medical gloves being produced here because the government just threw money at it and then left it. Didn't follow up to see how production lines would do going. If they were purchasing, did the government purchase any gloves from these companies, or are they still buying from China? We have a mess in this government because every time they touch something, they grind it down into the ground and nothing gets done. Think about all the billions of money that we have spent as a nation, and we have no idea what the sources and the uses and how it was used and where it went to. We have no idea. So listen, I say to the GOP Congress, listen, if you're going to fund 14, 18 billion, whatever the dollar amount is, you take that from some other place in someone else's U.S. government budget. And they did. They said, well, okay, we're going to take it from the billions that the IRS get and move it over to fund Israel. That's the way you've got to do it. If you're just going to add more money onto the debt, then you are freaking idiots. So you're going to have to live within the budget that you have and the spending amounts that you have. So if you've got 60 billion going over to the Internal Revenue Service, 14 billion goes to Israel. Sorry, you just lost 14 billion because we can no longer raise the debt on the American people. If the Senate, the U.S. Senate, thinks that they can, they're absolutely stupid. Either you sit down at the negotiating table and act like real leaders, then just go home to your constituents and lie some more, because that's what you're doing. You're not helping the American people. You're not helping the American debt. All Americans right now are so heavy in debt, so heavy with bills that need to get paid, and the government is just wasting their tax dollars time after time after time. So where are the U.S. medical wear? Where are they? Where's the gloves that we threw millions of dollars at? What happened to it? You never followed up on the government. You never did. And so to this day, we're still buying from China. It's a ridiculous situation, and we should never be in it. I'm pissed off at it, and every American should be pissed off at it, because we have seen a government waste and spend and waste and spend. And they will stand up there and lie to you and say, no, 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 we're not wasting. We're not spending. No, we're not spending. And so where we're at, $33 trillion in debt. We have a stupid government, and we need to start demanding that our money be spent wisely. The government has to be good stewards of the money that we send them through our hard-earned taxes. It's got to change. And if government's going to stand there and say, no, we're not going to change, then we have to change it. We have to make the changes of who goes and serves us. That's our only answer at the moment. This is Mike Lodge. I'll talk with you soon. Listen, if you need any help, and if you want to send me a business question, right here, down there, email it to thebusinessadvisor@gmail.com. And if you would like to sit down with me for a 60-minute consultation, you can go to www.lodge-co.com. Everybody have a great day. God bless you. Talk with you soon. Bye-bye.